What do you think, if we want to look for a solution, the fundamental issues we need to look at this?
The fundamental issue is India now has changed its tone. In the beginning, it claims that China has invaded the Indian territory, right? In your press, you keep changing your tones, and now, according to you, this is not Indian territory. So, who allows you to come to this part of the world in which India should not be a party?
Whose territory is it?
It's a disputed territory. It's nobody's territory.
Disputed territory among whom?
Between Bhutan, China, and India.
Okay.
But so that was the 2012 important issue, and this is where Indian conceptions...
That is ridiculous. At most, it is some misunderstandings on of the territory between China and Bhutan. India is not no party.
I haven't heard even from Indian government that this is an issue among China, India, and Bhutan.
That's what was covered in 2012.
There are two things. One is the tri-junction identification. Yeah. We don't have a clarity. The second thing is, why did India go in? Your question. Well, there is a dispute between Bhutan and China. Professor who I have spoken to him earlier, he says that that's between us then. It's between Bhutan and China.
He said the worst thing would be that, but the most is
between Bhutan and China.
Okay, let's just hear what he exactly said. You probably put your words together to help us understand what exactly you said.
The Doklam area is under Chinese effective control for so many years. If there is some misunderstanding, that is at most misunderstanding between China and Bhutan, while India is not one party.
Now, why is India there? The two issues. One, that there is a dispute between Bhutan and China. There is no ambiguity here. There is a letter, the démarche, which came from the Bhutanese side to China when the Doklam incident started, wanting the Chinese troops to move away and not build the road. The second thing is a public statement by the Bhutanese ambassador in New Delhi, where he's clearly saying that Doklam has been a disputed territory between India and between China and Bhutan. So there is no question about that. Now I come to the second aspect. If it's a dispute between these two countries, that is China and Bhutan, what is India doing there, right? Now I want to respond to that specifically. India has a defense treaty with Bhutan, that there is a treaty which was signed first in 1949, which has been replaced by another treaty in 2007, which is a security treaty, that if there is any threat coming into that, the treaty kicks in. And on the basis of that legality, Indian troops go into this territory which Bhutan claims as its own.
Senior Colonel Zhou, you obviously do not agree with our Indian counterpart. What exactly are you trying to say?
First of all, yes. The Bhutanese government declared a démarche, which I have all reasons to doubt, that is made under India's pressure. Because is Bhutan under Indian pressure? All South Asian small neighbors are under Indian pressure. And that is why you live in no amity with any of your neighbors. Let's just raise an example.
Yes, very big assumption. I don't know.
Let's raise an example. Yeah, you should be a good neighbor to Sri Lanka, right? But when your Prime Minister Modi visited Sri Lanka the year before last, that was described by your newspaper at the first time in 28 years. Your two countries is just separated by a small strait. Now let's talk about the treaty. That was the 1949 treaty and the 2007 treaty. Yes, I read the treaty. So in the 1949 treaty...
The treaty between Bhutan and India.
Yeah, it says that the Bhutan agreed to be guided by India in external relationship, right? So that's exactly what it was described. So how can any sovereign states would agree to be guided by a country on external relationship? If it agrees, that means there is a kind of request. Otherwise, how can one agree to something? Then this kind of treaty would not hold water. That is why you have to change it in 2007, when now we have entered the modern era, when such kind of monopoly would not work anymore. And in this treaty, you actually mislead it, because you say that in a response to threat, so therefore you actually act together. But even in this treaty, black and white, it just asks you to have a close coordination on issues of mutual national interest. Remember, this is
Security.
yeah.
Security.
No.
Security,
So-
Article 8.
Yeah, but it did not specify that to be trespassing into the territory of other country.
What is the nature of this relationship between India and Bhutan? Senior Colonel Zhou has a lot of doubts about. That's first. Secondly, does this treaty allow India to do the things that it is doing right now on behalf of Bhutan? Let's just put aside whether there is any dispute or not between China and Bhutan about this region. So I'll let the two gentlemen respond. Any of you?
First of all, I would say that there's a lot of speculation and assumption that comes from the senior professor himself, but I think it's all his view, and it's not ground reality. I think that's the problem. What is the ground reality? And Atul was right that I think the treaty between Bhutan and India makes it clear that India should be present when Bhutan's security is threatened, and India feels
No,
that has
it's
been...
not written like that. Clearly, if you read it, it's definitely not written that India should be there. Give me one sentence which said India should be there when there is such a kind of a national security issue.
All right. Go ahead.
Can I add to this?
You are misinterpreting the treaties.
You see, treaties are conceptual. Treaties are not going into details that this battalion is going to be deployed if there is going. It doesn't get into the specifics.
That's why you make use of it.
2 points. I still couldn't figure out the reason why we noticed what we are going to do twice. There is no formal response. Then suddenly you use such kind of radical way